they forget that I am a woman. And my bestest days are those very rare moments when they even forget that I am their boss. Their ownership of the project, of the task, is so strong that when they feel that I am not doing enough, they snatch it from my hand and they start doing it themselves. I did not bring that particular, I don't have a picture of that particular event, but that story is etched in my mind and I should try to narrate it to you. Nowadays all of you are familiar with MSP, minimum support price. You had the whole farmers agitation and government purchasing. What we do is that every year government purchases the produce, farm produce, rice, wheat, ragi, at a price which is determined by government based on a number of factors, and that is called the MSP, minimum support price. And these grains are then sent to the FCI and then distributed through the ration shops. So this is the whole circuit. So I was at that time the Principal Secretary of Food and Civil Supplies, and the MSP purchase was my task. And we were sitting together, and my way of working is consultative. In government, you are very poorly provisioned. So there was one computer and 20 of us surrounding it, and preparing the draft cabinet note, as it is called. We had to place the note before cabinet to get the approval for making the purchases. It is done annually, but we still have to get the approval of the cabinet. That particular morning, I had missed my breakfast. So we were sitting and preparing the cabinet note, and I got hungry. We were sitting and writing a note about rice and ragi and wheat, and my tummy was rumbling. And so I kept interrupting and said, let us break for lunch. Let's have something to eat and come back. I just kept saying, because this thing was dragging on, and it's a very difficult note to prepare. It's very difficult to explain the intricacies in a gathering like this, but it's full of complexities, finance, nuances, agriculture, a whole gamut of things have to be gone into before you place it before cabinet. So I kept saying that let's stop, let's have lunch. And finally one of my officers, his name is Narendra, and he still works in government, and he lost his patience, and he said, if you want, you go and have lunch, we'll finish the job. How many of you understand Kannada here? Some of you at least, yeah. Madam, you ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಊಟ ಮಾಡಿ ನಾವು ಮುಗಿಸ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ ಕೆಲಸ. So they just snatch it from your hand and start doing, because that involvement in the task becomes so much. Whether you are superior, subordinate, man, woman, all those differences disappear because your orientation is towards completion of that job. In public life, there is a lot of hypocrisy, venality, corruption, but beyond all that, there is something which defies labeling. When you put head, heart and hands into something, those very same corrupt and venal forces not just make way, but they even cooperate with you with enthusiasm. This is a picture of the total literacy campaign in Karnataka. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of that cabinet note preparation with Narendra, but this is another similar such project which we had done, the total literacy campaign of Karnataka. Some of you will remember it. And the first generation learners, the women here are tribal and scheduled caste women, and they are first generation learners. And when they learn to sign their name, that sense of accomplishment, that sense of hope and enthusiasm, they infect you with the same enthusiasm, and that keeps you going. So the next message which I can give you is, never lose faith in your fellow women or fellow men. Next question. How can women help other women? We speak a lot of sisterhood. Does it really exist? In my life and career, a support system of women backing other women is not something that I have experienced much. Women understand your reality better than men. probably. But when push comes to shove, ties of region, language, caste, religion, groupism, these trump sisterhood. We also see this attitude of willful indifference when mothers do not accord daughters the same privileges as their sons. Or mothers-in-law treat daughters-in-law as though they belong to a totally different species. We see this in workplaces, when women colleagues turn a blind eye when one of them is a victim to harassment. Sometimes we see this in a police woman who, instead of empathizing with a victim of dowry or domestic abuse, yells and roughs her up. Or in a lady gynecologist who doesn't bat an eyelid while aborting a female fetus. Many a time, women may want to help one another, but may be unable to do so. Thus, understanding does not translate into actual support. But, in larger issues at least, we women need to come together as a collective. Let us look at the Pledge for Parity. We are just speaking about it now. In this, as in so many other things, government is far ahead of the private sector, and India is far ahead of the rest of the world. Equality in substantial terms is a given in government. All government employees enjoy one grade, one pay equality. But both genders get the same pay. But that is not so of all other sectors. And therefore, this is an issue where we have to work shoulder to shoulder, both women and men, to build consensus, to demand legislation, encourage corporates to lead each other by example, and the courts to lead all by mandate. We need to work together for this. There are also the trivial issues of day-to-day life and work. Small things like encouraging a daughter to find her dreams and helping her to achieve them. Appreciating the efforts and helping a woman at home. Treating all children equally, regardless of gender. Trying to avoid pettiness and jealousy in your daily working and personal life. These are simple things which all of us can do. These will impact society positively and tremendously, more than any Women's Day celebrations ever will. So this will be my next takeaway: cultivate and nurture sisterhood. A woman nourishes, a woman inspires. And she is the youngest one that I ever learned from. Some of you will remember the 2018 floods in Kodagu, Kurg district, along with Kerala. Kurg is the neighboring district to Kerala, and it was equally badly affected by the floods. Hundreds of people lost their livelihoods and homes overnight as they witnessed everything that they owned being washed away. At that time, I was the district secretary of Kurg, and I supervised the relief and rescue operations. It was a tense time. Many lives hung on our decisions. Delays could be fatal. We had asked for the resources of the Army and the Air Force and even the Navy and put them to use, but it was not enough. At that time, the General Timmaya Academy of Adventure approached me. Jetna it is called. They have volunteered their skills. Now there are a lot of volunteers at that time, people who wanted to help, but it is a very tricky thing because there is the desire to help without the necessary skill or the knowledge to go with it. And therefore, we were very careful in giving permission, so to say, or allowing people to join the rescue efforts. With the Army, Navy and Air Force, we had nothing to fear. They could take care of themselves. But other volunteers, we have to be very careful. But I discussed with them 15-20 minutes, and they assured me of their skills. They briefed me on what they could do, and then I gave approval. And I was exhilarated to see that Jetna not only participated in the efforts, but they rescued baby, a girl child just 2 months old. And they carried her across like this, across the river in Spate. They made a impromptu ropeway. The Pramod was the rescuer. He just held the baby to in his arms, and he just slid across the river. And the river was in full spate, the flooded Kaveri river at that time. And the video of this rescue effort and baby herself became inspirational for an anxious public in that trying time. That split-second decision which I had to make saved that little baby girl and made her the mascot of our rescue and relief efforts. This is a feeling of fulfillment that I will carry with me for life. So, let me go back to my example of the eagle and the hen. The American writer Alice Walker said, the most common way people give up their power is by thinking that they don't have any. For me, it hardly matters whether I or you is an eagle or a hen. What matters is that neither of us should spend our lives in a cage or a coop. There is tremendous aspirational, inspirational and motivational value to being a woman, a working woman, even a little baby girl, like baby there. All of us in this room have a lot of power, much more than we do realize. The women of India and the world have infinitely more. Let us resolve to use that power to the maximum. Given the multitude and contextual dissimilarities, we cannot often rely on precedents set by others. We have to forge our own paths. We have to sculpt our own narratives. Today, eagles, hens, peacocks, owls, not deliberately, chickens, swans and ducks, let us all resolve to flap our wings and fly. Thank you all very much.